So as you mentioned, I come from Kansas City, Missouri, so just right across the state. This is my fourth location of 1 Million Cups. So as he said, travel around, get some exposure to different communities and all of that. I'm actually a SLU grad, so I come to St. Louis quite often. But today I'm going to be talking about my company, PopBookings. I am the co-founder and CEO of the company. I actually do have my other co-founder here with me today. His name is Scott Hansen. Did a little road trip with me. So what PopBookings is a platform for event staffing. So when I say event staffing, I'm not just talking about bartenders and servers and things of that sort. Actually, most of the jobs that get booked on our platform are going to be more sales-oriented, more marketing-oriented. So people working high-volume events like concerts, sporting events, trade shows are a big one, as well as when you see people passing out samples at grocery stores. Those are all the kinds of jobs that get booked on our platform. So brand ambassadors of sorts. So we allow companies to find people to work the events, wear their shirts, and talk about their product. So we this is really access to those kinds of workers and people that can talk about your brand. And so we solve a couple problems. The old way of doing things is Craigslist. So if you want somebody to work one of these jobs, you post it to Craigslist to get all sorts of people on it. As well as when you do get them, the scheduling of those people. Where do they need to go? When, if you have kind of a more involved event, sometimes that just gets a little crazy. So really, we're solving two big pain points. If you're posting on Craigslist, you're getting all sorts of emails into your inbox. You have to sift through those emails. You have to, call people. Hey, are you available to work? Are you still good to go? All of that. So we've made it to where it happens on one beautiful platform. So when you send out a job, the workers get it to their phones. We do have a mobile app where they can see all the job details, where do they need to go, when do they need to be there, what do you need them to do. What's really neat about this is as an employer, you can post the job, it's free to post, and then you start reviewing candidates, and then from there you can go ahead and book them. We actually handle the payments as well, so everything is handled as far as booking them, paying them, communicating with them, and all of that. And so here's what it kind of looks like. I don't know if it's going to move for me. But you'll be able to click on the profile and it brings it up. You can see reviews. We have ratings and reviews of these people. You'll be able to see where they're at, some photos, who's showing up when they get there, get a little idea of all of that. What's really nice too is you can do this all remotely. So you don't actually have to be at the event to have people work for you. So we have GPS check-ins, so when the workers get there, they do check in, it'll capture where they're at, and it also has them take a photo to further prove that they're not just sitting in their car right next to where they're supposed to be, So you'll be able to know that they're showing up and doing their job. We actually make it even easier to do these jobs remotely, because we do have talent in all 50 states across the country in 8,600 different unique cities. So likely you're going to have a good chance of getting good candidates to represent your brand at events. In fact, this is a little bit some stats for you as far as what our community has grown to. So since we launched in March of 2016, we have 150 employers posting jobs on our platform. We have 200,000 users that apply to those jobs. And then we have $25 million worth of jobs being booked through the platform. As far as how much it costs, so our average hourly rate is going to be $22 an hour. Of course, that depends on the market you're in, because LA, you're going to have to pay a little bit more versus maybe in St. Louis, it's a little bit different market rate, but about $22 an hour, depending on how much you want them to be there. It's a 2-hour event, 4-hour event, trade shows, a 3-day event. So on the trade show note, I have a little case study for you. So this is a pretty common use case for our platform as far as a company that wants to be at a trade show. There's lots of companies that do trade shows. And this is an example. We have Event Geek. And a few reasons why they use our platform. They wanted to save a little bit of money. Because when you're doing a trade show and you're sending your internal employees, you're paying for their airfare, you're paying for their hotel, all those other travel expenses, they really do add up. So by hiring local, you can cut that expense in half. In fact, 20% of a trade show budget is usually staffing and travel costs, and so it is truly a money-saving play, as well as a scaling effort. So as a marketing team, if you want to scale out your marketing team and be able to have a presence in different cities, you can just ship the materials there, have them pick it up, and start working. So again, two main reasons why you would use this platform. So they hired this cute little, kind of geeky girl, adorable, and so they were able to kind of look through the candidates, interview them, and she showed up and did a really awesome job. So whether it's kind of one or two people, or whether it's a need for a lot of people. So another example is we did 288 shifts for the Super Bowl. So again, whether it's a small need or a large need, we can handle it. This is another example, just a little testimonial, so I can tell you how great we are, but sometimes it's nice to just hear it from somebody else. So this is actually an agency, so we also have that management tool for agencies. So they pay us monthly, and they do it. That's the core of their business is event staffing. So we have a few of these awesome people. What's really neat about our concept is we are starting kind of that experiential marketing kind of event space, but we do plan to scale out into other industries. For example, pharmaceutical consulting, construction, IT, anything that has a very temporary kind of project-based or gig need, we got it. And then as far as who we are and why we're doing it, so you've already met myself and my co-founder, Scott. So this is our second business together. We actually owned an agency ourselves prior to PopBookings. And it was an agency, so we understood the need for streamlining our processes. We were in that Excel world, that manual world of just doing our job some way, somehow. And when I tried to find a technology to help us with our operations, I just couldn't find anything good. And I was sitting there wondering, how are agencies much larger than ours doing it? They were just hiring more people to handle all the admin work and all of that, so I was like, whoa. So, as well as I've done work in the field, so I've worked trade shows before, I've represented all sorts of types of brands. I'm telling you, I've been an M&M, like literally. I was in an M&M suit. I've done, Axe, I've done 5 Hour Energy and all of that, so I know the pain points of working those kinds of jobs and working for multiple agencies and different companies and have to continuously be applying for work. So we also help them out as far as giving them a central place to be looking for jobs, getting booked, and being able to communicate with all their employers. And then our third co-founder, who is not here, but he is, very core to our team, he built the product. So he's more of the technical founder, non-technical here, technical there. He comes from a company called Last Minute Golfer, so he built a booking app for booking last minute tea times. So that's kind of who we are and how we've gotten started. Short, sweet little presentation for you guys today, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for Q&A.
Please raise your hand and then wait for the microphone. Don't just start talking.
Great presentation. Question, so actually 2 questions. So how do you do your training for the new employees? Do you do it in your software? So how do you do that new training? And then also, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I'll start with that question. So it's all done through the platform. So when you're reviewing candidates, you can kind of get an idea if they're experienced or not. So we have things like, how many times they've been booked, and they have the ability to kind of upload resumes, things like that, and then you can kind of interview them. And then as far as like training for the job, you can upload documents or have them complete some sort of form or something like that, so they're kind of prepped for the job. So again, just kind of all handled through the platform. I don't know if you've ever used like an Upwork. It's kind of like that. They have some tools around it.
Also, is it payment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you kind of pay up front, and then we automate it to where it sends the person automatically. So.
Gotcha. And can you talk to me a little bit about the market? Just like with this space, how big is that market? I didn't see like really any numbers, but how big is it?
So it's a very hard market to find numbers on, but I obviously did at some point. So in the U.S. alone, it's $2.2 billion for promotional staffing, and then worldwide it's $42 billion.
Do you guys have any direct competitors right now?
Direct? direct competitors?
Manolo, Shifted.
So, yes and no. Of course, obviously you always think. Yeah. So we have a few competitors in the management software space. So we have two products. So we have the management software, and then we have kind of the marketplace software. So you have like the Wanolos of the world, being work now locally. And then ShiftGig kind of plays in our space. I don't know if you've heard of any of those. And then we have like a few competitors like Staff Connect and Ubana. There's a few popping up on the management side, but we do both, and nobody does that side of things. So it's kind of our differentiator.
More questions? I have one. Do you, are there people that just do this for a living? Like they literally just show up at events and start, kind of talk over, like, hey, this is such and such. I mean, and how many people are there that actually do that?
There definitely are full-timers. We love our full-timers. So, it's funny, like the demographic of the workers on our platform is interesting. So actually our most active user is a gal down in Florida. She is about 62 years old, and she does wine demos just at like Publix or grocery stores and stuff like that. Just to get out of the house, do something a little low-key. So, she's made a ton of money on our platform. And then, we have like the college kids who kind of do it part-time, and then we have the people that, are recent grads, and it's kind of an exciting, opportunity for them to get work, with all these different brands. It's really cool as you can travel. So I don't know if you want to work like South by Southwest, a lot of people will travel to those jobs, because it's a really fun environment to be, and you get to actually like attend these events.
And so my follow-up question to that is, so how are you trying to attract those people? Because obviously you need to have the good supply of good quality workers that are motivated and kind of flexible. How are you reaching out to them?
Yeah, so what's really neat, so we have been in business for about 5 years now, and our user base is pretty dang active. I did show a few numbers. We have 200,000 workers on our platform, kind of checking the job board and everything. We actually, and this is just, I'm going to try to explain it as best as possible, as clear as possible, but we have different companies that have their own registration portals, and they post these links out to like Facebook and Craigslist and all that to get into the system. And then once they're in there, a lot of these workers, especially if they've done it before, know that you have to be registered with multiple companies. And so once you start kind of being registered with multiple companies, you become a more active user and all of that. And so we've been able to do that since we launched, to kind of get really the existing, it already exists out there. The ecosystem already exists. So we were just kind of bringing it into one spot, and that was our way of doing it. And it worked really well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Do you also do the whole HR function for people? Do W-6s and those kinds of things?
I mean, like the taxes?
Yeah, well, if somebody's working full-time, for example, there should be withholding and stuff like that. I don't know if your system does that, or you rely on people to take care of
That's
their
a
own
good question.
stuff.
So
I mean, certainly should be paying into Social Security at a certain level.
So we're actually contractor based. So we don't do like full-time W-2 employees. We kind of have that on our radar to eventually handle that, but right now it's 1099 contractors, and if they're booking on our platform, then yes, we kind of handle some of that. So.
I might have missed it, but as far as marketing for, I guess, the people who will be staffing, how do you find them, or how do they find you?
For the people hiring?
Hiring.
Yeah, okay. So the majority of our user base right now is going to be agencies. So a lot of them, this is the core of what they do, so we're giving them a platform to be able to save a lot of time. So a lot of it comes from word of mouth on that end. And then as far as, let's say a startup is doing a couple, trade shows a year or something like that. So that's kind of the market we're breaking into. So we launched our marketplace product in October. It's still kind of a newer product for us. But getting the word out as far as we have a lot of people coming in from ads who are searching event staff or trade show staff online, and all of that. So lots of different channels. But our main channel actually right now is word of mouth. just crazy. So.
My question, I'm trying to get familiar. Now, so what you do is if I was having an event, I would call you, you would staff that event, send the people out with the host or whatever is needed for that event. Is that how the company works?
Well, we're not calling people.
No, I'm saying,
We're a tech company. But yes, you log on, you create a job, send it out, and you get people. So it's a self-service platform. So if you're hiring, you would just log on, do it all yourself.
okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I work for a company that they actually, similar to that, you would call them for your event. They would hire the people, staff the people, and they would come out and host.
Yes. So that's an agency who, actually a lot of our clients are agencies who, and the reason for using an agency, by the way, versus doing a self-service platform, it's all on bandwidth. Like if you don't have a lot of bandwidth to be, looking through profiles and figuring out who's good, or, and if you have a bigger, program where you have a ton of events and things like that, you just want somebody to do it for you, agency. Us, if you have the time, basically.
So when a company hires one of your contractors on the platform, do you have any agreement in place with your contractors to kind of keep them from migrating into, if they were hired for a one-time position, if the company wants to bring them into more full-time, is there an agreement to prevent that, or do you encourage that with your contractors, say, hey, go for it, it's like a event, one-time deal, then they try to translate it from there, like what's you guys' kind of system or methodology surrounding that?
I'm going to give you a long-winded answer.
I'll take it.
So we do have policy around circumvention, is what we call it,
Right.
to where if you're hired by somebody, the initial 30 days, we kind of have like a hold on you.
Right.
And then depending on if you have some of our premium features allowed, then you can have your own database. So you can start building that. So that's actually a big selling point for us is I'm trying to build a team. Maybe I don't want to pay the 9% or whatever on the bookings each time. You could pay us monthly and kind of do a combination of both. Actually, most of our clients on the platform use both of our products because of that. And then, as well as like we kind of discourage going around the system because the payment's handled through us and it's very quick. So it's, within 48 hours it's hitting your bank account, and normally it could take, 2 weeks if they're doing 2 weeks or longer. I've actually worked a couple jobs back in the day where it took 4 months for me to get paid. 4 months, and so it's a huge thing for these, talent users who have had that, experience to not want to, go direct to them because they know Recruit, it's all streamlined. So the payment's kind of a built-in buffer. But yeah, we do have a few policies around it too.
For sure. So being in business for 5 years, do you have like any statistics on like what you guys' churn rate is as far as people migrating off, or like just an idea of what the numbers would be as far as, or is it nominal enough that it just doesn't pop up, I guess?
It's going to be very small.
Yeah.
Again, like our marketplace product is pretty new. I will say, like with the agencies, that's going to happen more than with, just like a company coming on for a couple bookings here and there. So I don't have those numbers particularly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great presentation. I like the product.
Thanks.
I'm curious, when you go to enter a new market, what's the strategy and approach that you use to make sure that there's enough people and organizers meeting up with each other?
So right now, we are nationwide. And as far as making sure that we have enough employers, I think that's kind of like our next step. So we have, the staff, across the country. Keeping them engaged is going to be something that's, something we have to keep doing, is making sure that there's enough jobs posted, that they're logging in and all of that. The way our system works kind of allows it to where they don't have to be logging in every time. So we can send out job alerts and it goes to like their app, it goes to their email, it goes to their text message. Like we have ways to get them engaged really quickly in an automated fashion when there is a job posted. So now our user base is really used to like looking for jobs too. So they're always checking our job board and they know now like, oh, PopBookings has the most employers on this platform. So we've just seen an increase of people checking over time. So we haven't really had to have a strategy on one particular market because we kind of started nationwide, so.
question? All right, I'm going to take a question while I'm walking over here. Could you explain the whole pharmaceutical thing? Because that made me tilt my head a little bit like a dog, you know?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you, like temporary healthcare staffing, like we've been approached by actually several agencies who are like, this product would be so good for our, industry. Like, so for, traveling nurses or something like that, where they're going to be working at a hospital for, X amount of time. There's lots of industries that have like an episodic need to staff up, and so that was just one of them that I threw out there.
Okay.
Hospice and pharmaceutical sales are all temp, which a lot of people don't realize that. So it kind of falls into that.
You would think there would be an inherent, an embedded level of knowledge you need for the pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Well, no, you do.
Okay.
They have to be heavily licensed, but there's still a pool of people that work temporarily that have those licenses.
Okay.
And for reference, we're not there yet.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's that slide was the radar where we could go. So
Understand.
yeah.
So I was wondering, for like events or gigs where maybe it's like an annual thing where a company has something and it's not like a huge, 100%, maybe they have like 5 people or like a couple people at an event every year. So what's preventing the company from just contacting those people directly after the first time they use PopBookings? Like maybe they just, they say, okay, give me your business card and I'll call you directly, and then that way then they kind of avoid like any fees or like commission or whatever they would be paying with PopBookings.
It's just gonna happen. We've built things around, discouraging that, but at the end of the day, it's likely gonna happen. Now, I will say, it's all about who's available when, and so if you go into a market and, they're available this year, that doesn't necessarily mean they might be available this next year. They could move or something like that. So, a lot of the times it's like, you need to send out like 500 invites to people, and then for a one-off event, see who's available from there. So it's kind of a built-in buffer, but it's just something that is probably going to happen. So
Would you say then that like your kind of business depends a lot on having new people sign up for new jobs and every single time? Like it's the new people who sign up for PopBookings who are like first time maybe users or just like newer users. Would you say that like your business is really relying on keep attracting a lot of new members?
yes. So like the churn or the turnover in this kind of industry is going to be pretty high. It's gig work, so somebody might need it at one point in their lives. Maybe they're in college or something like that, and then they graduate and get a full-time job and just decide they might not need it anymore or something like that. So we do have to kind of keep those numbers up, and that's why you see like a pretty large number in our database, is because you do kind of need to have a variety of people with different things going on in their lives to be able to address whatever time frame. So it's like some people just only work weekends, and you need the other people who can work weekdays, so it's all about who's available when. And so having those larger numbers is going to help us be able to pop book, certain people.
And last thing, then you said that you mainly give publicity by word of mouth. Then seeing that like having a lot of these people to fill these variety of times and skills and locations is important. Do you have a plan for trying to publicize beyond just word of mouth, like an advertising campaign or something else to try to gain new users, both on the hiring side and on the working side?
Yeah, so we, with the launch, we kind of launched internally with our current user base, and there's a lot of opportunity there to kind of convert some dollars. So we've been really focusing on kind of our internal usage and upsells and all that fun stuff. We have been getting, like I said, some word of mouth, and actually the word of mouth is mostly coming from the workers, telling whoever they're applying with, because again they apply with so many different people just to get consistent work. So they're always kind of telling people like, oh, well, you should be on this platform, to try to find some people. So super nice. But beyond that, yeah, we do want to like put the pedal to the metal. We're kind of looking towards our next steps, as far as potentially doing some funding, here in the next year. So that's really what it would be. So right now we're just kind of improving the product and kind of slowly growing, but we do want to put the fuel on the fire once we really start getting that traction.
I might have missed it, but what sort of barriers to entry are in place for your workers as far as like background checks or vetting goes?
So we don't do background checks within the platform unless you do it kind of like outside the platform and just track it in our system. So it's pretty pretty easy. You do have to have like some experience. You have to upload some photos. You have to write yourself like a little bio and things like that. So, and then on the employer side, you can see if somebody's worked on the platform or not, or if they're a new user. And then really at the end of the day, people do interview before they book, so they'll hop on a call or like a video conference just to kind of get a feel for a person. So they'll kind of handle how they want to screen and how rigid they want to screen for their own kind of job. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess it has a rating system like Uber pretty much.
it's a rating system.
I mean, is there a rating system kind of like back end, like
yes.
I'm totally stunk or something like that?
Yeah, so we do have a two-way rating system. It's kind of, we built it off of like the Airbnb style, so you do have to have worked with that person to rate them. And then we have like things like communication, like appearance, like did they show up in their pajamas, or things like that. And then you can write a little blurb about how well and not well they did.
We got a question from the live stream here. What was more important in the beginning, building the job inventory or building the brand ambassadors?
Ooh, that's a good question. Is this off?
Right.
I think it died. Okay.
Here it is. There you go. I can yell.
Maybe not. Just keep that quiet. There you go. So, in the beginning,
Building the job in inventory or building the
Yeah.
jobs brought the users. So we got agencies. So at the time we were one product company, so we were focused on getting agencies to use it, and they already had the jobs. So as long as we got a lot of agencies, the talent would soon follow. In fact, most of them already had an existing database that they would come with. And so they would import the database, and then they would have a nifty little link to kind of build their own database and build that asset out even more. And so for us, it was going after the people who had already had jobs. Good question.
I think it was.
Justin?
So really great job again. I think you have a really great opportunity to become a market leader. So I would definitely just encourage you to really understand like what the market actually is, like how many dollars are going into promotional ad space, right? Because like you really can be that leader, and that will help you with the funding. So I can really say for capital. So please, if you have to talk to me afterwards. But I would love for you to like really understand the full market landscape.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and that was always kind of like a challenge when we first started, was figuring out what those numbers were. But I also think there's, and this is going to sound like a little airy, so just take it for what it is. I think there's an opportunity for building a market that maybe didn't exist before, because you really didn't have access to this type of service. So you went with an agency and it was full service, and you paid a premium for that, or you did Craigslist. There was really no in between to where you could, either use an agency and, contract through them, or, use our platform and kind of manage it yourself. So I think that market is something that's just out there. Like, for example, actually, there's a company that offices right across the way from us, and they do about 20 trade shows a year, and they have used care.com to find somebody to wear their shirt at a booth. Instead of babysitting, they were like, hey, can you show up at this trade show? Because they had ratings, reviews, and they were kind of approachable or whatever, and they were able to get somebody that way. So it's just, care.com is a babysitting platform. So they were just kind of posting for a day at a time, and kind of using that platform to find good people. So I think a lot of that's happening, and it's just kind of all over the place. So
The one way to really form that up is even start to release yearly reports as well, where you become that market leader, making sure even on LinkedIn, you're becoming that presence, where you're basically telling like what's happening in this promotional space, right? And then you basically are forming that market yourself, and then people are now coming to you as that leader.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
All right. Well, this is kind of working. I'm just going to yell. So I'm going to take the last question, and it's the typical 1 million cups. You know, what can we do for you? What are you doing here? Besides, I'm sure you're going to check out Blues game tonight. You know, if you're a St. Louis person. What can we do for you?
Blues. So our biggest thing is, identifying people that might have a need to scale their marketing efforts, obviously, to use the platform, and then, since we're kind of still early with that market. We also want somebody that could, give us feedback on it and kind of build up our case studies and kind of build up our, arsenal as far as, use cases for the platform. Another one, so I have two. I'm greedy. We are also in the market for potentially hiring a UX UI designer. So if you know anybody that might be interested, I have 2 cards. That's all I got. Or, you can find my information from one of the organizers.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.